you. I'd like to welcome in now Lester Munson, former staff director for the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Lester, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for your time. So we just heard Kelly Meyer's report there. In your opinion, how critical was today's call with Putin?
Well, I totally agree with the vice president. We'd reached an impasse here. It was unclear what President Putin was going to be willing to do with respect to a ceasefire. So President Trump put in the call to him. Long conversation, a lot of good reports coming out of the call. That's all terrific. This could be the thing that's needed to take some steps forward here. I think we're going to have to wait to see what actually happens in Ukraine. Will Russia stop these attacks? It's been loading up on drone attacks in the last couple of days, showing no real willingness to ramp down hostilities. So the proof will be in the pudding here. But I think an important step here in that President Trump, who is at the end of the day the most powerful man in the world, directly talking to President Putin about what he needs to do here to bring peace to Ukraine.
Lester, do you think there is a real possibility that these two world leaders will meet in person at some point?
Well, stranger things have happened. So I think it is possible with President Trump providing cover here. That might be necessary. Could our new Pope, Leo XIV, provide the cover for it? Could he host these discussions at the Vatican? That's an intriguing possibility that President Trump mentioned. So there are options going forward, I think, that could lead to a good discussion. But the critical piece is really, is President Putin willing to end this war? And is President Zelensky going to be willing to compromise on some of the key issues regarding the territory in Ukraine he controls, security guarantees, things like that? President Zelensky has shown a great willingness over the last few weeks to compromise. President Putin has not. So that's the real question is, will Putin compromise here?
Yeah, and Lester, you mentioned some of the comments we heard from the vice president. Again, earlier today, as he was leaving Rome, the vice president was asked about this, Russia-Ukraine war. I'd like to listen. Well, we listened to a little bit of what he said. We also know that Russia launched this massive drone attack on the Ukraine. So what do you think it's going to take to really see some progress?
Well, I think there's a little bit of psychoanalysis here. What does Vladimir Putin need to be able to stop the war in Ukraine? At the end of the day, Ukraine can't stop it. Russia can. Russia's the invader. Russia's the aggressor. They're the ones who need to stop. What does Putin need to be able to stop doing that without having to worry about being stabbed in the back in the Kremlin? That's kind of the acid test. He's going to need some sort of political cover, probably from President Trump, to be able to do that. Exactly what those details are, what was discussed in the conversation, what are the security guarantees that the West is going to provide for Ukraine? That's a key question. What parts of Ukraine will Russia still be able to de facto control? Crimea, likely parts of eastern Ukraine. What do those look like? Where are the borders? These are all the questions that have to be resolved. It's very complicated. This is not an easy lift, obviously. President Trump has been frustrated that this is, in his mind, taken so long. But I think realistically, this is about the best position we could be in, those who are advocates for peace at this point.
Yeah, and then my last question for you, and the fact that you mentioned it is not an easy lift. I mean, this is a complicated, layered situation, but there are critics who say President Trump has sided too much with Putin, while others, say that he's maybe just trying to make progress. What are your thoughts on how President Trump has spoken of and seems to be treating Russian President Putin?
Well, there's no doubt that President Trump has been treating Putin with great respect and deference. He's doing that on purpose because no one else is doing it. He's trying to use his good offices to allow President Putin to save some face here and do the things he needs to do to get out of Ukraine, or at least to stop the hostilities. So it's a risk that President Trump is willing to take. He's not moralizing. He's not preaching. He wants to end the conflict. He's going to be criticized because, frankly, Vladimir Putin is the bad guy here. There's no doubt about it. And President Trump isn't calling him those names. If that leads to a peace deal, then great for President Trump, great for Ukraine, great for the world. Probably see a Nobel Peace Prize or something come out of it. If it doesn't work, then I think we're gonna have to go kind of back to first principles. call Vladimir Putin what he is, a thug and an invader.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.